Hey everybody, it's Greg Rice here in the Bucket, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and I was speaking to Greg Weiss at J&W Property Management. They're on Waterman Ave in Providence. They do a great job, and I have to say, from one industry professional to another, Greg is solid. He's very solid. Same name, almost the same last name. That would have been really awesome. But Greg Weiss, okay, and I was chit-chatting with him the other day about getting involved, right? Getting landlords involved with legislation. Like I made that video last week about the potential to change the rental increase time frame. There's probably another 20 different bills that are being discussed right now that would have an impact on all landlords in some way, shape, or form. So I wanted to call attention to that, and also, how do you get involved? How do you make a difference? And you can't rely on everybody else to make a difference. Because if everybody has that mentality, nobody's doing anything. You're reading the headline, oh wow, they're going to do 90 days for increase. Oh wow. Man, did you see who the Patriots got? Waste. Knowing is the first thing. Most of us know, see, hear a lot, but we don't go to the next level, which is getting engaged. Engagement is level 2. Knowing, awareness, engagement. So engagement, I want to put it up on the screen right now. It's this beautiful list that Greg Weiss put together for us. The housing bills. These are all different types of bills that are currently being proposed that will have an effect on all of us if they became law. First one, just for example, I'll rattle off a couple here. 7647 House Bill requires landlords to list all mandatory fees when advertising any residential property for rent, as well as on the first page of any lease. It prohibits a landlord from charging a convenience fee when the tenant pays the rent. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this exact bill, but quickly, we have 700-800 tenants that are paying the rent on a monthly basis. They pay a $2.95 convenience fee, and that's what we pay to the software provider. If we had to cover all of those payments, and not everybody pays one time, some tenants are paying multiple times, it would be thousands and thousands and thousands a month that we would have to absorb for this law. And I always go back to this. Whenever legislation is proposed and passed, it costs us money. And who ends up, I don't even want to say it, who ends up carrying the bag, the bindle? Who carries it? The tenant carries it every single time. Every single time. In some way, shape, or form, the cost gets passed on to the end user, which is the tenant. So if you say to me, you can't charge a tenant $3 for the convenience fee, what's going to happen? I'm raising their rent. By necessity. Not because I'm a greedy fat cat, but because more legislation, more red tape, more requirements, more costs, more me. So the rent's going up, not $3, it's probably going to go up $20. Okay, who raises the rent $3? So we need to stay involved. We need to stay attentive, okay? And if we keep moving down this list, let's look at Senate 2413. Spells out the responsibilities of both the landlord and the tenant with respect to the inspection, treatment, of bed bugs. Okay, right now, if 2 or more units in a dwelling have pest control concerns, the landlord is responsible for treating the whole building. If just one tenant complains in a multifamily, then the landlord doesn't have to. So who knows? This bill might be digging in further to that. Another one, 2438, limits the use of certain criminal records and credit history reports in denying housing to prospective applicants, and provides fines for failure to comply, and requires notice of denials to be sent to the prospective tenant. So again, we look at credit report, we look at criminal history, because both of those are evidence and show a display of decision making. Somebody's got 30 criminal charges and a credit score of 400. Do you want them living in your property? No. But if we can't use that data to make a decision, then you might be forced, the F word, forced, to accept an application as such. Okay, so we can go on and on here, but these are just some examples of what's currently in play and has been introduced in just the last month. Okay, month and change. So second part of my discussion here is, say you don't like one of these bills and you want to get involved. How do you do so? And I'm going to put this up on the screen here for you. So when a hearing is set, they'll give instructions on who to email the written testimony to, and most often you email it to the committee clerk. The verbal testimony, you must attend the hearing at the State House and you have to sign up to testify. And most of the time you'll only have about 48 hours notice before a bill is heard. So it's better to draft letters just so you have them if you can't make the verbal testimony. But let's take a look at this example. This is a committee hearing, House Committee on Finance, Bill 7225, and it's really nothing damning to landlords, just a good example here. But it shows you what it is, okay? More information on testimony in the House committees, which I'm going to click that in a second, where it's being streamed, and the accommodations as far as who to contact, right? And also, who's the clerk that you would email written testimony to. So this was posted actually last week, and just goes over that information. Now, if you click on the for more information on testimony, it's going to give you this screen. And this screen is just a quick little run through of what your written testimony should look like. So first and foremost, you're going to send it to the email address right there at the bottom, which we just talked about. And the testimony must include your name or your organization, like I would submit on behalf of Nexus, bill numbers, and viewpoint for, against, or indifferent on. And then you can even click here again for tips on testifying, which we'll put that up on the screen for you as well. If it's a budget-related hearing, you must also include department, agency, and some article and section number there for you. When will it be posted online? Testimony is posted as soon as possible, and the posting may be delayed if it's a high volume, right? Some of these bills get a lot of attention, or if it's hand delivered at the hearing, they'll post it later. Now, important notice at the bottom, written testimony submitted to any committee and or commission of the House of Representatives is considered public and will be posted to and will be accessible on the General Assembly website. Once posted, they will be viewable via search, right? So if you're going to write something, in that case, just keep in mind that the world can see it. So you must be firm in your beliefs and also comfortable with the language that you choose. Now, speaking in person is next level, more advanced, more challenging, right? You're facing the eyeballs. People are looking at you. Might be some news media there. There's some pressure. Do you want that? I love that. I live for that. But if you're not comfortable with that, then do the written testimony. The written testimony, they will say, is weighed equally. And nobody's ever said this. This is just me, being a practical human. But when you speak in person, you're going to make more of an impact. And that's just human nature. If you give me a letter and I read it, or if you sit in front of my face, look me in the eye, and you deliver the message, that I'm going to get more from, as opposed to words and trying to figure out your tonality, your expressions, your true opinions on it, right? Your nonverbal cues, yada, yada. So I highly, highly recommend speaking in person whenever feasible and as you feel comfortable, okay? Back to the beginning here. Awareness, engagement, difference. So you see something, you read it, you get involved, and then step 3 is you make a difference. That's the goal. And that's the goal with anything in life, right? You don't want to be just an audience member your whole life on everything. Certain things, audience for sure. Most things, frankly. But things that you're passionate about, things that affect your wallet, things that affect your family, those are high-ticket items that you should want to be engaging with and ultimately making a difference with. Take a simple example. Your son or daughter's playing Little League, softball or baseball. You see that there's no coaches signed up. You remember the great childhood you had in Little League, and the coaches were there and everybody was supporting and clapping in the stands. They don't have any coaches. That sucks. Go back to scrolling. Or you say, you know what? They don't have any coaches. I have my weekends free. Let me ask if they need some help. Somebody to throw batting practice. Somebody to rake the dirt. Put down the chalk on the lines. Okay? And then step 3 below that, they say, yes, you're doing all that, and now the field looks better. Now the kids are more excited. Now you made a difference. As opposed to just knowing something's not good. No one's not the way you grew up, but just choosing inaction over action. It's the simplest thing I can think of off the top of my head. And I feel that when I grew up, there was more engagement in the community. The lawns were cut, people were waving, they knew what was going on. They weren't distracted. They weren't in these little wormholes. Nowadays, do people care as much? I don't think so. I don't think so. And to stuff like this, I think they could care less. They're upset. They're upset about things. But fewer and fewer people are willing to stick their neck out, be vulnerable, get involved, or be wrong. Or better, worse, not know. How often do you hear somebody say, I don't know? Truthfully, you don't. You don't. Humility creates wisdom. Humility creates wisdom. So if you ask me a question, I say, man, I don't know. I don't know why that is. Then you have the opportunity to educate me with your perspective and your data. I take your data and then I say, wow, that makes sense. Now I am wiser, having heard and know that. Now I'm on my path to wisdom. And you'll never know everything, but going down that path, the pursuit of wisdom is all you want. Staying here in your little box, not knowing anything, but pretending like you know everything, 0, failure. So be open to what's going on. Be willing to get involved. And be excited when you make a difference. And I think once you make a difference, once you actually see the fruits of your labor, very little labor too, by the way, very little. Write an email, and do that in a text message. When you see a change is made, a bill is stopped, something damning is fixed, you could say, wow, I actually make a difference. People respect me. People look up to me. People trust me. It's a beautiful thing. So can you dedicate 10 minutes? Oh, I'm so busy. Oh my God, so busy. And then you look and they're on Instagram and you see the green dot. They're online. What are they doing? They're busy. They're busy. Priorities are whacked. People don't care about what matters. And that's not how I grew up. People cared. Teachers cared. Coaches cared. Parents cared. And what happened? All the children had great upbringings, for the most part. They had a wide variety. We all volunteered. We washed cars. We did fundraisers. We played sports, after-school activities. And what did it create? It created a person that now is trying to do the same thing on a different front to change and help other people in a different arena. You just keep it going. But if you stop and you don't do nothing, who's doing anything? Fewer and fewer people, and those fewer and fewer people are being stressed out, they're being ridiculed, they're being put on the chopping block, and they're being filleted because, oh, why is he doing that? I wouldn't do that. I would do it this way. What are you doing? Nothing. Nothing. And one more thing before we go here. I was at the gym a couple weeks ago, and I am running to be a delegate in the presidential election, so I had to get 150 signatures. Now, delegate's a very simple role, right? You go and you just sign, you say, on behalf of Rhode Island, blah, blah, blah. It's more about, for me, getting involved, learning the process, you know, just being an active participant in a different light. So I asked this guy, I was like, hey, you mind signing for me? I just need 150 signatures. And he went off on a tangent about X, Y, and Z, you know, had all the opinions in the world, had all the critique of me in the world. So after he did his rant, I said, so you seem like a pretty smart guy. What do you do? You know, what do you do as far as getting involved? Well, you know, I talk about it. I said, oh, you talk about it. Nice. Anything else? No, well, not at this time. You know, I'm busy. I got a lot going on. I got the kids. I got the family. Blah, 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 blah. But it was one of those Monday morning quarterback guys. I can't believe Mahomes made that pass. I wouldn't have did that. As he's licking the Cheeto dust off his finger. The guy was wide open over there. Jeez, guys, they pay him so much money. Same thing. Shitting on me for trying to get involved in making a difference in my way, right? Living my truth. And what is he doing? Nothing. But critiquing. Criticizing. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Get involved in your way, however small or big. Do something. Do something. And whatever your industry is, whatever your business is, whatever your cause is, might be animals, might be children, might be elderly, might be veterans, might be tenants. Maybe you're a tenant advocate. Get involved. And if you have any questions or any feedback, submit your written testimony to gregnexusleasing@gmail.com. Once again, Greg Rice here in the bucket. Your property and your everything else managed.